We've played around with a lot of stream controllers on this channel before. Now it's time to play with the big boys. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I am Joe Finley, and today we are going to be taking a look at the AVerMedia Live Streamer Nexus, and I'm very excited about this one. I never realized when I looked at the pictures of it and stuff, and even seen it in other videos, it just didn't look so big. It's gigantic. Now, my head, being as monstrous as it is an indicator. Like, I've eclipsed my... Oh, you probably can't hear me. It is huge. Right off the bat, it feels really nice. It feels really well built. It's got the nice touchpad buttons here. It's got control knobs down here. They're all clickable and have that nice reactive turn to them. You see they all control different audio sources. And then you have your touch screen here, which we're going to get more into in a little bit. And on the other side here, you can see a bunch of different things. Over here, you have your headphones and your line out. Here you have your XLR input. You've got a line in here, if you so use it. Console in, so it's just an optical in. This is your USB. It actually does require separate power because they used USB-B. Why is this not a USB-C controlled device? This easily could have been powered. Well, I say that, I'm not an electrician. I think it could have easily been powered with a USB-C controller. And then here it's got a little on-off switch, which is weird because everything else I have here, it's plugged in, and as long as the computer's on, it's on. But I'm willing to, I'm willing to take a look at it. Oh, I just discovered that the stand comes off. It's just a nice magnetic stand like this. So it sits up like that, or it sits down flatter. I think that's really nice. This is a lighter plastic, but it doesn't need to be anything substantial. It's just sitting down here, and it sits on really nicely. And then the accessories that come with it, your USB-B cable. AVerMedia, I feel like I have to yell at you every time I do a video about something of yours. First off, you don't have to put the live streamer in the front of everything. We already had the talk about the live streamer PW13. I'm gonna say it till I die. Short that name. Get rid of the live streamer. We're all assuming that these things are meant for streamers, or at the very least content creators, and name them. So you got the Nexus, so just make that the AVerMedia Nexus. You've got the PW13, give it something better. I don't know, call it the Eagle Wing. I don't name things, I'm sorry. Just an auxiliary cable, which is nice, and then your DC cable. Now you'll notice it's actually missing a little something here. That's because these guys go on it. They actually, I'll give them credit for this. If you're gonna have to use a DC cable, which I don't feel like you need to, but if you're going to, they made it international. So we have all the different shapes here depending on what planet you live on. I know this one because I live on planet Canada, and then all you need to do is bust it out, take this in, and click. And now it's just a regular old Canadian DC cable. Looking forward to it. All right, let's have a look at what this thing actually does. Okay, so we appear to be all set up here. It took a lot to do it. I keep losing connection to my microphone, and then it would stop recording in OBS, which is what I'm currently using to record this video. A lot of just little hiccups like that, but we're here and we're up and running, so let's just get into it. So right now we can see we've got a little master mix here, which we can change the gain on all the different things. And this screen matches the screen that we have down on our actual console. So we can see a few things right now, like for example, if I turn these knobs, you'll see that it actually adjusts on the software as well, which is nice to see. And that happens for all of them. And if I click them in, they mute. And you can see all of that, which is really cool. Over here we have the touchpads. Right now they're just pre-done to go to AVerMedia software or websites and stuff like that, but we can actually fix that by just clicking on theirs, and you can actually see what the control currently is down here. So this actually takes us to the AVerMedia website. This takes us to a different website. This takes us to a different website. So these are all just hotkeys for websites right now, but we can change that to whatever we want. Over here on the left, very similar to both the Stream Deck and the Loupedeck controls, we have all of the different things here. So on Creator Central, that's the controls for this particular software. That is to mute different sources, or switch the mix, or change whether or not you're monitoring something. All these different ideas. They've got a soundboard in there, hotkey profile switch. Below we have system controls, so we can put in different hotkeys, go to a website, do all those fun things. Cam engine, so that's for the actual AVerMedia camera. They have controls specifically for that, which is kind of cool because if you have some of the filters on or something like that you only want in certain scenarios, you can hotkey it and just bring up that filter for just a second. That's pretty neat. This guy right here, I believe this is AVerMedia's recording and streaming software, which I have never used, so we'll skip that. OBS Studio, your standard stuff, scenes, source, mute, record, stream, the huge. YouTube and Twitch, you have viewer counts and subscriber or follower counts, and a chat box, which is really cool because you can put that up right on the screen and then just have it right there, which I think is pretty awesome. You got Spotify controls here. If you're using that for your music, that's a pretty big deal. And then Slobs controls, and we're not talking about Streamlabs right now. They know what they did. But let's take a minute and let's go to a page and create our own little setup. So we don't need any of this on our screen. So let's just go to page 1 here. And so right now I just threw something in here just for the sake of throwing it in, but let's actually just kind of monkey around with it a bit and see what we could do. So for example, say I wanted this to be a good controller for my stream. I could do a few things really quickly. I can have a little monitor thing here just because I already have it. Why get rid of it? And go down here and we can go down to our OBS controls. And I can say I want record and stream up here, and you see it comes on really quickly. So I can take a scene and then drop it in. You're going to notice that all of these are dark right now, and there's a reason for that actually. And if you look down here, this is the answer, is that the OBS WebSocket plugin has not been found. So we actually have to set that up if we want to get this thing working with OBS properly. All right, well, after an hour of monkeying around with it, I cannot get the WebSocket to work for this thing. I've followed the tutorial, I've installed the correct version, I made sure everything was in OBS. Everything is exactly the way it's supposed to be for this to work. And I've done a dozen reboot, everything. So I'm going to try and follow up with AVerMedia on this and see if we can get some sort of a fix for that. But in the meantime, we're just going to have to skip it. But we do have a lot of other things that we can put in here. So for example, let's go down to our Twitch controls here so we can have our viewer count. You can see that these are a lot bigger. They actually take up 2 by 2. So then you have your viewer count and it shows up on there, and they show up nice and big though, which I like. So like here would our chat box be. So there's no account set up for this, so I'd have to set up my account, which is fine. So you can see that the chat actually shows up in real time, which is a really cool tool to have if you have your chat kind of off to the side or something like that, and you can have this thing right in front of you. I know that happens for me because I actually run a vertical setup, so my chat's up there. So I usually have to have my phone or something down here with my chat. So that's actually really interesting. But with things like this, obviously it's taking up real estate on your screen here, so you just have to be mindful of that. So you need to decide what you need and what you don't need. Maybe you want a couple of Spotify things across here and just have this as your Twitch screen, and then you can switch to another screen. So if you go like that and you swap over, so I swiped, if you swipe left, you go back here, swipe right, you go back here, and then I can create a whole nother page. And then when you work on this, you can actually use it, but just by hitting the touch screens, and you can volume down, you can volume up, and you can see it actually working in real time with me. I never understood having this. If you have all this down here, which is also down here, why would you need this unless you really, really care about what the number is in here? But that's neither here nor there. That's fine. These guys, again, you can make these whatever you want. So you might want like a soundboard player here. So you actually have to assign the player to one of these outputs to make it work, but that is a very viable thing. So obviously you could make it your console output, or if you're not using your system or whatever, you can change it to anything you want. So we're not going to use this right now. We're just going to mute it. And what I'm noticing is, while it seems to have the same kind of controllability as the Stream Deck and the Loupedeck, it seems to lack that intuitiveness that they seem to have. I don't know, everything just seems to click together better with those. The software for AVerMedia kind of falls flat on every single account. The cam engine, in comparison to Elgato's camera hub, just like falls completely flat. The voice engine, in comparison to the Wavelink software, falls flat. And I guess the best, oh my god. And I guess the best comparison for these would be the Stream Deck with the AVerMedia. What's the name of this actual software? It's like the AX310 software, but it's just also the Creator Central. Again, too many names. I don't know. They're such a huge company for this kind of stuff, and it feels to me like they just need to sit down with a group of creators. I will happily go sit down with them and just tell them what they need to do. And I think the first thing they need to do is just go steal one of Elgato's devs. Just any of them. Just any competent dev over at Elgato. And they'll be able to come over and say, this is what you're doing wrong with your software. It should not be this counterintuitive to put together a proper stream. I mean, everything is there. The design in this hardware is fantastic. Just looking at it, it's like I got some sound pads. I have a touchpad that I can make whatever I want. I've got all my volume control down here. What could go wrong? And then the software arrives and just kind of wrecks everything. And to double down on that, so here we have, right now we have our master mix here, and you'll see down here it says enable dual mix. So let's click on that. So there's a little bit of our compatibility right there, as that took a long time to do. Now we have the breakdown, just like we do with the Wavelength software and with Razer's software for the Siren V2 Pro. The creator mix, so this is what I'm hearing, and then the audience mix, so the stream mix. Great, but why is this up here and this down here? So now if I'm trying to change one and then change the other, like, what is the point of this? They're the only ones to do this, to put them in two completely separate places. So then when you're trying to even make a comparison, or you're like, I want these two things to be the same so that I can hear what my audience is hearing, you can't really. So, like, you know, I go to console and it's like, okay, I'm going to go down to about here. And then I go to console and it's like, I'm going to go down to about, I don't know, is that right? That could be right. If you go up here, if you click here, it's actually going to bring up your app audio config, which the Wavelength has as well. It'll bring up, and then you can actually take different applications and then assign them to the different inputs on here, which is good. That's fantastic. I have no issues with that. If we bring up the settings here, then this pops up, and you have a lot of different control stuff here. So you have your membership, so I can actually put in all of my individual accounts and things like that. If I add an account here, you can see I can add YouTube accounts, Twitch accounts, OBS. So yeah, if you click on the plus there, you can get your Twitch, your OBS, anything like that. So that's actually how you're going to set up your OBS WebSocket thing, which I need to do still. So then you would set up everything here. Then under general, this is just to check for updates and all this kind of stuff. Under hardware, this is kind of cool because you can actually change a lot of the information. You can change whether or not your screen goes to sleep. You can change the screen brightness, opacity, background. You can actually change the color on there if you want. And it's just the background color. You can see that it's doing it here. Here, you can actually change it, and then you're not seeing the drop downs when I do this, but then you can see I can change it to like a pulsing color, and you can't really see. Here, I'm going to just tilt this camera a little bit. There, you can see it sort of on the side there, that it's going like that. It's a nice little feature. It's just a little aesthetic thing that doesn't really do anything for anybody but you, but it's better than nothing. You go into the interactive, and then you can actually see, you can create things. You can create like lighting status for if you've lost connection to something, like these, for example. So you can change priority to stream and record, and then you can actually say like what it's doing. So basically, if you're streaming, you can have that light change and do something else. You know, you make a green light or something like that when you're on the air, and which again, that's a really nice little feature. They've got ideas in here, lots of good ideas. It's just the overall is just really problematic. And over here you have some basic output stuff. The line out, for example, you can change what mix, or if it's just your mic or whatever is coming out of it. You might want to use that in a scenario where you're doing like a 2 PC setup, where you can actually run the audio into this and then out of this into your PC. Your chat mic, you can decide whether or not to use it and then have the effects on it, or you can take the effects off of it. So you might be playing effects to your audience when you're doing a stream, but then when you're playing like a game, you want to send the mic to like the game chat, then it won't send like the silly effects or anything like that to it. And then you can set your sample rate here, and then your just basic headphone and line out volume here. So now going back to the OBS stuff, I actually managed to get the OBS connected via the WebSocket, and now I should be able to actually go down. Okay, if I'm being frank, I'm really disappointed. I was really excited about the potential of this thing. It's such a beautiful machine. It can do things that the other ones can't do with that touch screen, but there's just so many bugs. Even after I finally got the thing connected via the WebSocket to OBS, it still wouldn't recognize it, despite the fact that OBS said it was connected and AVerMedia said it was connected. They were both perfectly happy with the connection, but then you went in to actually control something and said, oh, sorry, there's no connection. Software's not an easy gig. I would love to be able to say, oh, well, if it was me, I'd be able to do this in a heartbeat. No, that is not my thing. But if you're going to do it, you have to do it right. The fact that this software exists, and this has been out for a while, the fact that this software exists in this fashion, this late into the game, is astounding. It shouldn't even have been released like this, much less still be like this so far after. I saw other people's videos when they got this before it was released, and then there were all kinds of bugs in the software, and you're like, well, those were bugs in the software. It's like, by the time I get my hands on it, it should be perfect. And it looks to me like nothing has changed, and that is heartbreaking. AVerMedia needs to step up their software game. They have good hardware. This is good hardware with a lot of potential, but when everything rides on the software working and working well, hardware doesn't mean anything. So that's where I leave you, with a half-working mixer, and yeah, just being a little kind of bummed out. Hope you enjoyed the video. I hope that at least you got something out of this, at least some information. But I tell you what I will do, because I will give AVerMedia the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to keep an eye on this software for some time, and if down the road things improve, I will make another video, because I don't want to leave anybody out to dry, saying, especially something like this, where a very simple fix in the software can change this from bad to great. I'm going to keep an eye out, and I will keep you guys informed. Till then, But if you did enjoy what you saw in the video, make sure you hit the like, hit the subscribe, all those good things. Hit that little bell so you know when another video is coming your way. There's always videos coming your way, because I've got no life. But that's it for this time, guys, and until next time, let's get to work.